Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about the new eyeshadow palette release from Kat Von D. It is the MetalMatte palette. I love how it does that. I think that's so cool. Big eyeshadow palette here. I mean, it's physically just large. I think I showed in my haul video. I have another small palette here. You know, it really extends quite a ways past some other palettes you might be familiar with. There's a lot inside, a lot of generously sized shadows, and I think it's a really good value, even at $60. I think the quality in here is intense and wonderful and so varied. So in here there are 9 of the Metal Crush metallic finish eyeshadows and then 13 totally matte shadows. I feel like overall I've had the most experience with Kat Von D's matte shadows, having used the Shade and Light eye palette, which I know so many people love. It's a really great matte neutral palette, and then she kind of branched off and did some quads that I really liked as well. And so here you're getting, I think, a good handful of neutrals, but you're also getting some pops of color. And sometimes I feel like we put a lot of stock as makeup lovers, makeup junkies in swatches. You know, how does something swatch? Does that fully tell the tale of how it actually works on the eyes? And these swatch beautifully. I mean, I think they really look so true to color when I swatch them out, not even on top of any sort of base or primer, but just a dry swatch, one swipe on the skin. I think they look really good. But after doing a handful of looks with this palette, I can tell you they apply equally as nice on the eyes. And one of the things that I like so much about shades that have just really rich pigmentation, and this goes for, I'm thinking primarily the deep matte shades, but also some of the shimmery shades as well. They have a range. It's kind of like when you think about buying a really deep, rich lipstick. The one that comes to mind is Revlon's Black Cherry. That lipstick can take on a certain very distinct, deep, dark look when it's applied full on all over the lips. But if you shear it out a little bit, I mean, it's got an absolute spectrum of ways that can look. It can look like the darkest, vampiest near black ever, or it can go more towards a light, soft berry. So when you've got really nicely pigmented colors, even in eyeshadow, I see similar effects to that. I've worked with this green called Moss, Ribbon, that pretty purple velvet down here, this nice burgundy. They all have a range. They can be packed on and look pretty much exactly like they look in the palette, or they have the capability of being sheared out and looking a totally different way on the eyes and offering something really different to your look. So I think that's something worth keeping in mind. I mean, $60, yes, good chunk of change for an eyeshadow palette, but if it's going to really perform for you and be top-notch quality and do everything you would expect, and I think give you a little creativity, that's what I like to see. I mean, I mentioned this with my big Lorac Mega Pro 3 review, and not everybody's like this, and I totally understand. You know, I saw people in the comments like, oh, this would be a great palette just for a conservative workplace, or, you know, I only like to wear neutrals. Fine, absolutely great. But when I look at some of the palettes that I personally like most, and this is my review, so I'm gonna own it and give you a little bit of personal insight here. When I look at the palettes in my collection that I really enjoy the most, they are things that do offer a good chunk of neutrals, but also some things that cause me to do something a little bit different than I would normally do with my eyeshadow. And sometimes I need that push, and I think palettes are good for giving you that push because everything's kind of all in one. You can look at everything, it's all sitting right there on your lap, and you can say, you know, maybe I'll go over to this shade and try a little bit of that out. So I like palettes that push me just a bit out of my comfort zone. I'm not saying I want to wear like the world's brightest eyeshadow around town every day, and that's not what this is. That's another key point that I want to make about the colors in here, because kind of look more toward this side of the palette. When I look at those shades, I see colors that I'm very like familiar with wearing on my eyes, colors I wear a lot on my eyes. I look over here, I see a blue that really stands out, some metallic blue and teal type colors. And what gets me about these, and I mentioned this in the haul, they didn't go like absolutely screaming electric blue with those shades. They went with a really true royal blue. They went with kind of a deep emerald green as opposed to a really bright Kelly green. And these shades up here too, while they're pigmented, they're very vivid. There's that little bit of depth to them that I think makes them a little more approachable approachable, a little bit easier for an everyday person to throw into a look. So what I see when I look at this palette is something where I could do a largely kind of neutral or neutral toned look, and then if you just wanted to add one pop of color to your outer corner, to your transition type color, to your lower lash line, like everything is here to make your look just a little more interesting. So I'm really embracing this palette. I love it. I'm clearly enamored by what's in here, but I do want to ask myself anytime I look at an eyeshadow palette like this, is there anything missing? I know a lot of palettes these days have a lot of warmth going on, a lot of like orangey type shades. There's nothing super orangey about this palette. I mean, Fringe is a little bit peachy here, but you're not getting like one of those rich rusty orange shades. I'm not saying it should have been in here, but you know, that might be a color that some people are really looking for these days. Also, when I think about the more transition type colors, shades that might help you blend out a look, for me in the looks that I've done, Suede has been good for that, so has Fringe. But when I just want a soft, like kind of light brown crease color, and you'll see this in the look I did today, I just kind of go a little bit back and forth between Oak, which is the true kind of deep brown here, and Suede, which is the soft tan. I do a little blending with those, and I can kind of customize it to just the perfect like soft brown crease color, so keep that in mind. So what I see when I look at this palette is generously sized eyeshadows, really good quality packed into all of them. Today I used Tinsel, which when I initially swatched it, I thought maybe Tinsel's going to be like the dry, flaky one of the bunch, but it really can be packed on the eyes and have an impact, so I was happy to see that in application. I have snapped pictures of a couple of the looks that I've done. One is like fall to the max. I used the gold, I used the burgundy, I used the kind of bronzy brown called Synergy, and I just love the way that look came together. I mean, it was just, it felt so good. Everything applied so full on and vibrant. And then the other day I wanted to experiment with Moss, this pretty green here, and I really felt like I used it softly. I went into the look knowing I don't feel like doing, you know, full on glamorous heavy eye look today. I just want to take this in a lighter direction. And I tell you what, that lighter eye look, and this does not always happen with eyeshadows, even though I'm careful to prime my lids every day, that look on my eyes looked identical when I took my makeup off at 10 o'clock that night. These shades are really capable of clinging to the eyes even if you wear them in a lighter capacity. It's really beautiful. And then for today's look, I want to walk you through a little demo on that. Again, I did prime my lids first. I used that little combo of Oak and Suede in my crease just to get the perfect soft brown crease color. For a deeper look, Oak could have done the job on its own, but I'm just kind of trying to set the stage for something here and get just a little natural contrast going. And then I used Fringe a little bit, that peachy shade, on the outside of that color and went further up towards the brow with Bone as my highlight. So I've got this nice kind of matte natural thing happening, and now I'm going to pop on some color. I'm sort of layering with this look from the inside out. So I decided to pack Tinsel, which is your silvery color. I find that this color applies best with kind of a pat and a little bit of a tug type motion, you know what I'm saying? Like not a painted on swipe back and forth, but just like pack it on and then just pull your brush slightly and it transfers on so well. Then I pulled in Watt because I wanted this sort of teal pop right on the lid, and that shade is just dynamite. Such a pretty deep rich teal color. And then on the outer part of my eye I used Ribbon, which is the pretty matte purple, and I cleaned off my brush and I used that just on the outermost part of the lid, outer part of the crease. I used a little bit of Volt just kind of around the edge because I thought, I don't know, it just brought out more of the purpley look that I was going after here. Press pause on the eyeshadow palette. I did some black liquid liner across my upper lash line, and I used this fantastic purple liner. It's the L'Oreal Silkissime liner in pure purple. Applied it to the waterline. I also kind of smudged it down there in between the lashes. And then I went back to Ribbon on the lower lash line with a pencil brush, and I used a little bit of Volt, which is the shimmery purple, as well on the inner part of the lower lash line. Finished the look with some mascara and some Demi Wispy's false lashes, and could not be more pleased with how this turned out. It's so fun. I love having that little kind of unexpected pop on the lid, because overall, like head on, I feel like it looks like a very plummy eye look, but then you can see that little bit of watt coming through, and when that layers with Tinsel, it like brightens that shade up even more. So many fun options. I really enjoy the feeling when I get an eyeshadow palette and I think, yeah, I've done a variety of looks with this, but yet I still only feel like I've scratched the surface. You know, that's a fun feeling. And when you've got shades like Ignite in here, which I haven't really talked about a whole lot, but Ignite, Glitz, Twinkle, Tinsel as well, these lighter metallic shades, when you start layering the mattes or the deeper metallics over those, you have, again, even more looks that you can go after, even more shades. So in my opinion, I think this is a really good palette for those of you who, you know, you like your neutrals, but you're ready to start kind of stepping out there and integrating a little bit of color into your look. I think it's all wearable. It's just in how you apply it. And I'm gonna do some more tutorials with this. You know, I've got a lot of reviews kind of lined up that I wanna get done, but I truly feel that this is a totally wearable palette. I can tell you right now, it's no doubt one of my favorite things of this holiday season thus far. I'm a happy customer. I'm glad I got this. I would highly recommend it. And yeah, it's just, it makes me happy. It gets me in a good mood. You know how like when you crack open an eyeshadow palette and it's either gonna make you feel like, okay, here we go again, same old business, or it's gonna make you feel kind of like, yes, what can we do with this today? That's how I feel with this. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again very, very soon with more reviews. Bye.